On the one hand, what I'm going to share with you is about a museum in Prague and how, depending on your viewpoint, you see something different in the painting, depending on how close or far you are. The idea of the painting may shift. On the other hand, this is a story about me and the parts of my experiences from childhood into college and to now can shift what I see. So when I was in Prague, 2013, I was in Prague 2013. It was the first time going to Prague. I was over in Europe doing some shows over there. And I'd gone to this museum and I was completely enraptured with this painting. I'm going to share what I saw at first because there were so many people that were looking at this painting and what I could see was limited. I saw that. Now, anyone who knows me knows that, yes, well, I can understand that being painting that you'll see. And the color red draws your eyes, red and yellows draw your eyes to the area better than any other color. And I saw this woman, I see a red tongue, I see the red and the purple and the eyes, I see the hair, wild. She's nude. I don't know if she's sticking out her tongue or what she's doing, but it is definitely capturing my attention. But that's all I could see. I realized I did not see the whole painting at the time. I saw what I could see. But as people moved away, I got to see another part of the painting. Take it in. A man, perhaps. This was the other side of the painting. I see the yellows. I see the dark shades around the eyes again. I can focus on there right here. I can see the hair is also tousled. Big chin. But I could see that. And then people left. And I was able to see more of the complete picture. And I see it. I see it now, or I think I see it now. I see it more clearly. I see, and that's the part my eyes drawn to, the people in the picture. What are they doing? What's going on? Wow, I am part of this intimacy. When I looked at the lower portion of the picture, I couldn't make out what it was supposed to be. It was somewhat irrelevant to me at the time. I know for the artist, there was no way that that was irrelevant. But my eyes could not stop looking at the picture. I could not stop seeing this fun. I could see it being intimate, passionate, but quite pleasurable. That's what I saw. Jump back with me to when I'm 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. I'm living in Massachusetts. I'm a lonely child. Slightly depressed at 9, definitely depressed at 10, clinically depressed. It was never diagnosed then because the family from which I came, but I was definitely had all the markers of clinical depression. And I am a loner. I'm somewhat a kid that can play by himself. Odd for sure. Any friends that I had, most of them, very odd. Couple of exceptions to that, but for the most part, my friends had trouble making friends. I was their only friend for many of my friends. And then some experiences started happening about that 10, 11 years old kid that I couldn't quite process. Didn't really know what to do with it, except it felt very secretive. It felt enthralling. It felt scary. It felt terrifying. It felt wrong. And it felt right. So this is 10 years old. I struggled. I started getting involved with things that had no purpose to get involved with. I really was getting involved, whether it was with shoplifting or setting fires or other behaviors that weren't to my benefit. Now jump ahead to when I'm in college. I'm 22 years old. I did really well in college. High school, I was somewhat of a bum. I was a little bit lazy when it came to my scholastic stuff, right? But in college, I really focused. Graduated with a 3.83 grade point average. Graduated magna cum laude. Made my parents proud. Now, I made both of my parents proud, but my father especially. My father built his life on his children's education. If you don't know my father, you have to know that part about him. My dad, both of my parents are immigrants from Jamaica. And when it comes to academia, ooh, don't mess with a Jamaican. Telling you. So my dad used to wake my brother and myself up at 4:30 in the morning to study, an experience that none of my friends could relate to. Hey, so I'd wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and my dad was not gentle about waking us up at 4:30 in the morning. He is a big man. And he'd wake us up by quoting Longfellow poetry. If you've never heard Longfellow poetry at 4:30 in the morning, you've missed out. But my dad would wake us up and be like, Mikey, Mikey, get up, get up. Heights of great men reach and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, toiled upwards through the night. Press on, son, press on. The world is not easy. It will be twice as difficult for you out there. You are going to have to be twice as good as your classmates. So that's my dad, 4:30 in the morning. So when I'm in college and I have a 3.83 grade point average, and I've been selected to be the baccalaureate speaker of my graduation class, I'm feeling really good. So I'm taking this counseling class, and my professor has written a bunch of statements, phrases, words on the board. And she asks us to pay attention, that this class is going to be about trauma. And she said, please look at these words, look at these phrases. These are indicators of trauma. If any of your clients or your patients are going through any of these things, understand that they have been through trauma. And some of the trauma that we will talk about today will be about abuse and molestation. And I started laughing. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I started laughing because indicators of trauma are not as obvious as some of you may think. Some of you may think, oh, I know the trauma indicators. Yeah, that angry individual, the cutter, right? The violent one. Yeah, those are the obvious ones. You don't need to be a psychologist to diagnose those. How about this one? Setting fires. You know what I thought when I saw setting fires? I was like, ooh, I'm a pyro. I love setting fires. I almost burnt down one of my parks once. Lying and manipulative behaviors. I was like, yeah, and I'm a really good liar. I had to be a good liar. Like growing up in my strict home, oh my goodness, with Jamaican parents, if you didn't lie real well and basically were convincing enough, you would get beat with the belt. Torturing small animals. Ooh, sorry, little frog. Sorry, Snakey. Sorry, other creatures. Then it said being touched inappropriately or being touched in a way that was uncomfortable or unwanted. And then it said molestation. And I was like, my professor is so stupid. That has nothing to do with molestation. If that's molestation, that's exactly what happened to me when I was 11 by my friend Dan. I was 22 years old when I figured out that I had been molested. I had this word for an experience that just felt enthralling. It felt wrong. It felt secretive. It felt dark. And it felt good. And the word was telling me, you're more messed up than you thought you were. And I took that to heart. Because from my viewpoint, all I could see was one piece of that painting. All I could see was that man with the frizzed out hair with the dark eyes. I go back to my dorm room that afternoon and I start attacking myself. And I'm like, you're so stupid. You're so ugly. It was your fault. I hate you. I hate you. And I felt desperately suicidal. But I didn't want to commit suicide because I didn't want to live. I just wanted to stop the pain. And so I called my mom because I didn't know what else to do. We call our parents because they brought us into the world. And if they don't have our backs in that critical moment, who else will? But our parents are human. They don't know what we're going to tell them. When I called my mom that afternoon, all I got out in my words were, Mom, something happened to me when I was 11 and I haven't told anyone and I need to tell someone. And she just goes, stop speaking, son. You seem very upset. I don't know what you're going to say next, but I want you to know that whatever you did in the dark at 11, that what you're feeling now is just God bringing it to the light to punish you. I hung up the phone on my mom. Those weren't the words I needed to hear. Those aren't the words you need to hear. But I don't hate my mom for giving those words. It's what she knew to do. But when I hung up the phone, I realized my mom is not the only person I could go to. So I picked that phone back up. And that's the part. Pick that phone back up. Move from where you are to see another angle of the painting. When I picked the phone back up, I called this man named Charlie Thiel. He was a youth pastor at my church at that time, and I was crying, upset, suicidal. And I said, Charlie, when I was 11, there was this kid named Dan, and he was 16. And for 2 years, he molested me, and I just figured it out in class. And right now, I feel really sad. And I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to feel sad anymore. And I'll never forget what Charlie said. He goes, Michael. He always called me Michael. Michael, I love you. Michael, God loves you. It was not your fault, Michael. And you're going to heal from your pain. And then one day after you heal from your pain, you're going to have to talk about your pain again. Because there's going to be other people who need to heal. And I didn't know what Charlie meant at that time, but those words made me feel so much better. And I felt like I was seeing the painting with the man and the woman both in it, and the embrace and that dance of maybe that power of that beauty mixed with the pain and the tragedy. But I was seeing it from the viewpoint of that time, of when I was a senior in college. Jump ahead with me. Maybe 13 years later, I'm doing a presentation in a school, a middle school in New Jersey. And at the end of it, there's this girl, an 8th grade girl sitting in the front row, and she starts crying real loud. And there are other people that start staring at her and they're frozen. And she gets up from her seat, and I think she's about to run out of that gymnasium, but she doesn't run out of the gymnasium. Instead, she comes running towards me. And as she gets closer, I can see the tears streaming down her face. I can see the snot coming out of her nose. I can hear her hyperventilating. And when she gets to me, she just grabs me and she just hugs me for like a minute or 2 minutes. I don't know how long, but it feels like 5 minutes. She's hugging me, and then she steps back. And her words at that time, oh, she goes, thank you. Thank you for not killing yourself when you were in college. Because today, you just saved my life. I couldn't see the full painting. When I was in Prague, after being close to the painting and looking at it and understanding it, or thinking that I understood it, I started walking around the rest of the museum. And at some point, I get to the other side, the opposite side of where the painting is, and I look back and I see the painting. And I thought I had known the painting at that point, but I didn't see the painting until I was all the way on the other side, until my perspective was removed from being too near to the painting. You see, I think about that experience that I had when I was growing up, being that 11-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy, having been molested, and I couldn't see why. What's the point? Some of you struggle with that. Like, why did I have to go through this? Why is my life so bad? I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. And you can't see that actually that whole painting is going to be built on the gift of your pain. That the brushstrokes of your pain are what's going to paint that mosaic that is so beautifully you. I could not see what I see now when I was going through it then. My perspective could only happen through time, through distance of all those things that I thought were out for my harm, but were out for my good. Peace.